April 10, 2024. Las Vegas, Nevada. O.J. Simpson died. He was 76 years old. Prostate cancer. Surrounded by his children at his home. The disease had spread. There was nothing more doctors could do. So O.J. died. And the nation reacted. But not with universal mourning. Not with collective grief. Because O.J. Simpson wasn't just a football legend. Wasn't just a celebrity. He was a man who got away with murder. Who killed 2 people. Brutally. Viciously. And walked free. Lived nearly 30 more years. Died without ever confessing. Without ever apologizing. Without ever facing real justice. If you believe killers should face justice, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The O.J. Simpson case shows how wealth, celebrity, and a broken system can let a murderer walk free. O.J. Simpson's family announced his death on social media, posted a statement, said he'd succumbed to his battle with cancer, that he was surrounded by his children and grandchildren, that he died peacefully. The statement was brief, generic, made no mention of his past, of what he'd done, of who he'd killed, just presented him as a beloved father and grandfather, gone too soon. But many people reading that statement felt differently, felt that O.J. had lived too long, had gotten 30 years he didn't deserve, had died free when he should have died in prison. The reactions were immediate, divided, predictable. Some people mourned, remembered O.J. the football player, the Heisman Trophy winner, the NFL Hall of Famer, the man who rushed for over 11,000 yards, who scored 61 touchdowns, who was one of the greatest running backs in football history. These people chose to remember O.J.'s athletic achievements, his charm, his smile, his success. They separated the athlete from the killer, or tried to, said you could admire what he did on the field while condemning what he did off it. But could you? Could you really separate those things? Many said no. Others celebrated his death, said good riddance, said O.J. was a murderer who got away with it, who killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman on June 12, 1994, who brutally stabbed them to death, who left their bodies in pools of blood, who then manipulated the justice system, used his wealth, his celebrity, his race, to avoid conviction, to walk free. These people felt no sadness at O.J.'s death, felt only anger, that he'd lived so long, that he'd died comfortably, that he'd never faced justice, never spent life in prison where he belonged. The Goldman family released a statement. Ron Goldman's father Fred and sister Kim. They'd been fighting for justice for 30 years. Since Ron was murdered in 1994 at age 25. Killed while returning sunglasses to Nicole. Wrong place, wrong time. Ron fought back, tried to save Nicole, tried to stop O.J., and was killed for it. Stabbed multiple times. Left to die on a walkway outside Nicole's condo. The Goldman statement about O.J.'s death was pointed, direct, said, "The only thing we have to say is that today is just another reminder of how long we have lived without Ron and Nicole. It is no great loss to the world. Justice was not served." Nicole Brown Simpson's family was more reserved, didn't release an immediate public statement, but their feelings were known. Nicole's sister Denise had spent decades advocating for domestic violence victims, speaking about what O.J. did to Nicole, about the years of abuse, the beatings, the terror, the stalking, about how Nicole knew O.J. would kill her, told people, wrote about it, and then he did, killed her brutally, viciously, nearly decapitated her, outside her own home, where her children were sleeping upstairs. Nicole was 35 years old, mother of 2, divorced from O.J., trying to move on with her life, and he killed her, because if he couldn't have her, no one could. The media coverage of O.J.'s death was massive. Every major news outlet covered it. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, all of them, running retrospectives, showing footage of the Bronco chase, the trial, the verdict, interviewing legal experts, former prosecutors, defense attorneys. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone remembered where they were on October 3, 1995, when the verdict was read, when O.J. was acquitted, when 150 million Americans watched a guilty man walk free. Some coverage focused on O.J.'s football career, showed highlights, touchdowns, records, achievements, tried to present a complicated legacy, acknowledged the murders but also celebrated the athlete. Said O.J. was a controversial figure whose life was defined by both triumph and tragedy. But this framing angered many, because O.J. wasn't tragic. He was evil. He wasn't complicated. He was a murderer. Calling him controversial sanitized what he did, made it seem like there were two legitimate sides. There weren't. O.J. killed two people. That's not controversial. That's murder. Other coverage was more direct, called O.J. what he was: a murderer, a domestic abuser, a narcissist, a man who used his charm and celebrity to get away with horrific crimes, who manipulated the justice system, who played the race card, who hired the best lawyers money could buy, who got acquitted despite overwhelming evidence, who then spent the rest of his life showing no remorse, no guilt, no humanity, just entitlement, just narcissism, just evil. Social media exploded with reactions. Millions of posts, tweets, comments, TikToks. Some people posted R.I.P. O.J. with football highlights. Others posted photos of Nicole and Ron. Said justice for Nicole and Ron. Said O.J. was a murderer. The divide was stark, predictable, often fell along racial lines, just like it had in 1995, when the verdict was announced, when many Black Americans celebrated, saw O.J.'s acquittal as a rare victory against a racist justice system, while many white Americans were horrified, saw a guilty man go free because of his celebrity and wealth. O.J.'s children released no additional statements. Sydney and Justin, his children with Nicole, had lived private lives since the murders. They'd been young when their mother was killed. Sydney was 8. Justin was 5. They'd lost their mother to violence, their father to infamy, had grown up with the weight of O.J.'s crimes. Some people wondered, did they believe he was innocent? Or did they know the truth? Did they live with the knowledge that their father killed their mother? How do you process that? How do you survive it? The children never spoke publicly, maintained their privacy, carried their trauma silently. O.J.'s death at 76 meant he'd lived nearly 30 years after the murders. 30 years Nicole never got. She'd be 65 years old if O.J. hadn't killed her. Would have seen her children grow up, graduate, get married maybe, have children. She'd be a grandmother, would have had a full life, career, relationships, joy. All of that was stolen by O.J. Ron Goldman would be 55, would have had his own family, career, future, all stolen by O.J. They got nothing. O.J. got 30 more years, got to live free, play golf, make money, enjoy life, while Nicole and Ron rotted in graves. This was the injustice. This was the tragedy. Not O.J.'s death, but his life, the life he never should have had. To understand how O.J. Simpson got away with murder, you need to understand who O.J. Simpson was. Because he wasn't just another defendant. He was America's hero, beloved, charming, successful, a man who'd transcended race, who'd won over the country, who seemed incapable of violence. This image would save him, would make people doubt, would make a jury acquit, despite overwhelming evidence. Orenthal James Simpson was born on July 9, 1947, in San Francisco, California. He grew up in the Potrero Hill housing projects, a poor, predominantly Black neighborhood. His father left when O.J. was young. His mother Eunice raised him and his siblings alone, working multiple jobs, struggling to make ends meet. O.J.'s childhood was marked by poverty, by the challenges facing Black families in 1950s America. But O.J. had a gift: football. He could run, fast, powerful, natural athlete, and football would be his ticket out. O.J. had health issues as a child. Rickets, a bone disease caused by malnutrition, made his legs bow. He had to wear metal braces on his legs as a child. Heavy, painful, embarrassing. This could have ended his athletic dreams. But OJ was determined, fought through it, strengthened his legs. By his teenage years, the braces were gone, and OJ could run, could dominate on the football field. His struggles made him tougher, more determined, more willing to do whatever it took to succeed. OJ attended Galileo High School in San Francisco, played football, was good, very good, but not yet a star. He was also getting into trouble, running with a rough crowd, was arrested as a teenager for gang activity. OJ was headed down a bad path, could have ended up in prison or dead, but football saved him, gave him direction, purpose, a way out. After high school, OJ went to City College of San Francisco, junior college, 1965. OJ wasn't academically qualified for a major university yet. His grades weren't good enough, but he could play football, and at City College he dominated. Rushed for over 2,500 yards in 2 seasons, scored 54 touchdowns, was named Junior College Player of the Year. Scouts from major universities noticed. Everyone wanted OJ. He chose USC, University of Southern California, in Los Angeles, where he'd become a legend. At USC, OJ exploded onto the national stage. 1967 and 1968, 2 seasons, both spectacular. OJ rushed for over 3,000 yards combined, scored 36 touchdowns, was unstoppable. Defenders couldn't catch him, couldn't stop him. OJ was fast, had 4.4 speed, but he wasn't just fast. He was elusive, could cut, could juke, and he was powerful, could break tackles. He was the perfect running back. In 1968, OJ's senior year, he won the Heisman Trophy, given to college football's best player. OJ won it unanimously. Every single voter picked him. First place on every ballot. Extraordinary. OJ wasn't just the best. He was far and away the best. The Heisman ceremony was in New York. OJ gave an acceptance speech. Charming, humble, articulate, and America fell in love. This wasn't just a football player. This was a star, personality, someone special. OJ understood something early. Image mattered. People liked you, doors opened. So OJ cultivated his image. Was always smiling, always friendly, always juice, never threatening, never angry, never militant. While other black athletes like Muhammad Ali and Jim Brown spoke out on civil rights, on racism, OJ stayed silent, stayed neutral, stayed safe. He famously said, "I'm not black, I'm OJ." White America loved this, loved that OJ wasn't demanding equality, was just OJ, friendly, safe. This neutrality paid off. In 1969, OJ was drafted by the Buffalo Bills. First overall pick. Number 1. The most coveted player. OJ's early years in Buffalo were frustrating. The Bills were bad, had poor offensive lines, couldn't utilize OJ properly. People questioned, was OJ overrated? Could he handle the NFL? But in 1972, things changed. Buffalo hired Lou Saban as coach, built the offense around OJ. The electric company, they'd turn on the juice. And it worked. In 1973, OJ became the first player to rush for over 2,000 yards in a season. 2,003 yards. In 14 games. Over 143 yards per game. Historic. OJ also scored 12 touchdowns. Was named NFL MVP. Was the league's biggest star. This made OJ a household name. Everyone knew OJ. He was famous. America's running back. OJ continued dominating through the 1970s. When he retired in 1979, he'd rushed for 11,236 yards. Scored 61 touchdowns. Hall of Fame numbers. In 1985, OJ was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. First ballot. Unanimous. One of the greatest running backs ever. But OJ didn't stop at football. He transitioned to entertainment. Appeared in movies. The Towering Inferno. Capricorn 1. The Naked Gun series. O.J. played Detective Nordberg. Comic relief. Funny. The films were huge hits. O.J. was a movie star. O.J. did commercials. Most famously for Hertz rental cars. Showed O.J. running through airports. Jumping over luggage. His speed translated perfectly. O.J. Simpson goes with Hertz. America went with O.J. The commercials ran for years. Made O.J. millions. O.J. was also a broadcaster. Monday Night Football. Did color commentary. Was natural. Comfortable. Could connect with viewers. O.J. seemed destined for a long broadcasting career. By the early 1990s, O.J. had everything. Money. Fame. Respect. Love. America loved O.J. He'd achieved the American dream. Rose from poverty to wealth. From nobody to icon. He'd transcended race. Transcended sports. America trusted O.J. Invited him into their homes. But underneath the success there was darkness. Violence. Rage. And O.J. America didn't see. This O.J. was abusive. Controlling. Dangerous. This O.J. beat women. Terrorized them. And the woman who would suffer most was Nicole Brown, who met O.J. in 1977, who fell in love with the celebrity, who had no idea that loving O.J. would lead to years of abuse, and ultimately to her death. If you believe killers should face justice, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The O.J. Simpson case shows how wealth, celebrity, and a broken system can let a murderer walk free. In 1977, O.J. Simpson met Nicole Brown. She was 18 years old, working as a waitress at a Beverly Hills nightclub called the Daisy. O.J. was 30, married to his first wife, Marguerite, with 2 children, and a third on the way. But when O.J. saw Nicole, he wanted her, pursued her, charmed her, and Nicole, young and starstruck, fell for him, for the famous football player, the celebrity, the charming, successful man who paid attention to her. She didn't know what she was getting into, didn't know who O.J. really was, didn't know that this relationship would eventually kill her. O.J. left Marguerite for Nicole. Divorced in 1979. His daughter Erin drowned in the family pool that same year. She was nearly 2 years old. Tragedy. But O.J. moved on quickly, started his life with Nicole. They moved in together. Lived in Rockingham Estate in Brentwood. Massive house. Wealthy neighborhood. O.J. was rich. Successful. Could give Nicole everything. And for a while it seemed perfect. Nicole was beautiful. Blonde. Vibrant. Fun. She fit into O.J.'s life. His image. His world. They were a power couple. Everyone envied them. O.J. and Nicole married on February 2, 1985. Nicole was 25. O.J. was 37. The wedding was lavish. Beautiful. Seemed like a fairy tale. They had 2 children together. Sydney born in 1985. Justin born in 1988. From the outside, they were the perfect family. Gorgeous couple. Beautiful children. Wealth. Success. Everything anyone could want. But inside the house, behind closed doors, it was hell. Because O.J. was violently abusive. Beat Nicole regularly. Terrorized her. Made her life a nightmare. The abuse started early. Maybe even before they married. O.J. was controlling. Jealous. Possessive. He'd accuse Nicole of cheating. Of flirting. Of looking at other men. He'd scream at her. Call her names. Degrade her. Then he'd hit her. Slap her. Punch her. Kick her. The violence was frequent. Unpredictable. Nicole never knew what would set O.J. off. What would trigger his rage. She lived in fear. Constant fear. Of the man she'd married. The father of her children. The man America loved. Nicole tried to hide the abuse. Wore makeup to cover bruises. Wore sunglasses to hide black eyes. Smiled in public. Played the role of happy wife. Because that's what abuse victims do. They hide it. Protect their abusers. They're ashamed. Scared. Trapped. Nicole was all of these. She had 2 young children. No career. Depended on O.J. financially. Didn't know how to leave. So she stayed. And the abuse continued. On New Year's Day, 1989, everything changed. OJ and Nicole had been at a party, got into an argument. When they got home, OJ exploded, beat Nicole brutally. She managed to call 911. Police arrived, found Nicole hiding in bushes, wearing only a bra and sweatpants, crying, terrified, beaten. There were bruises on her face, her arms, her body. She told police, "He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me." Those words, those exact words, would prove prophetic, would come true 5 years later. Police took photos of Nicole, documented her injuries. The photos are horrifying. Nicole's face swollen, bruised, eye blackened, lips split, handprints on her neck. This is what OJ did to her. This is who he was. The real OJ Simpson. Not the charming celebrity. Not the funny actor. Not the football hero. A man who beat his wife, who left her bloodied and terrified, who told police it was no big deal, who showed no remorse. OJ was arrested, charged with spousal battery, should have faced serious consequences. But he didn't, because he was OJ Simpson, famous, rich, connected. His lawyers negotiated a plea deal. OJ pleaded no contest, was sentenced to community service, counseling, probation, no jail time, no real punishment, just a slap on the wrist. The system protected him, because celebrity mattered more than justice. Nicole tried to leave, filed for divorce in 1992. The divorce was finalized. Nicole moved out, got her own condo in Brentwood, on Bundy Drive, tried to build a life separate from OJ, tried to co-parent, tried to move on, but OJ wouldn't let her. He'd show up at her house, unannounced, uninvited, would look through windows, would demand to be let in, would call constantly, would accuse her of seeing other men, would threaten her, stalk her, terrorize her. Nicole told friends she was scared, that OJ wouldn't leave her alone, that he was obsessed, that he couldn't accept the divorce, couldn't accept that she'd moved on. Nicole started dating, seeing other men. This enraged OJ, made him more dangerous, more volatile. Nicole told friends, "If anything happens to me, it's OJ." She knew, she absolutely knew, that he would kill her, that his obsession, his rage, his need to control, would end with her death. Nicole kept a diary, wrote about the abuse, the fear, the stalking, documented everything, as if she knew, as if she was leaving evidence, creating a record, so when OJ killed her, people would know, would understand, would see who he really was. The diary would later be found, read, used in court. Nicole's words from beyond the grave, testifying to OJ's violence. By June 1994, Nicole was trying to stay away from OJ, was being careful, protecting herself and her children. But on June 12, 1994, she'd have to interact with him. Their daughter Sydney had a dance recital at her school. Both parents would attend, would be in the same space. Nicole knew this could be a problem, knew OJ might be angry, might confront her. She was right to worry, because that day would be Nicole's last. By the end of the night, she'd be dead, murdered by OJ, along with Ron Goldman, who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. June 12, 1994, a Sunday, a beautiful late spring day in Los Angeles. Sydney Simpson, OJ, and Nicole's daughter had a dance recital at Paul Revere Middle School in Brentwood. Both parents attended. OJ sat separately from Nicole. She was with friends, with family. OJ was alone, watching, seething, jealous, angry. After the recital, Nicole and her family went to dinner at Mezzaluna Restaurant, a trendy Italian place on San Vicente Boulevard. OJ wasn't invited, wasn't included. This fed his rage, his obsession, his need to control Nicole. During dinner, Nicole's mother Judy they accidentally left her glasses at the restaurant, called after they got home. A waiter named Ron Goldman offered to drop them off at Nicole's condo. Ron was 25 years old, aspiring actor and model, working as a waiter to pay bills. Friendly, helpful, kind. He'd return the glasses as a favor. Had no idea this decision would cost him his life. Around 10 p.m. that night, Nicole's neighbors heard a dog barking. Loud, persistent, agitated. The dog belonged to Nicole, an Akita named Kato. The barking continued, but no one investigated. This was Los Angeles. Dogs bark. People mind their business. The barking would turn out to be Kato finding his owner. Dead. Murdered. Lying in a pool of blood outside her condo. What happened that night, based on evidence and timeline, is this. O.J. Simpson drove to Nicole's condo on Bundy Drive. He'd been stalking her. Knew her routine. Knew she'd be home. He parked nearby. Walked to her condo. Hid. Waited. He had a knife. A large knife. Had come prepared. Had come to kill. Whether this was premeditated or a rage decision is debated. But O.J. was there. With a knife. Ready for violence. Around 10:15 p.m., Ron Goldman arrived. Walking up the path to Nicole's front gate. Carrying the glasses. Being helpful. Being kind. Nicole came to the gate. To meet Ron. To get the glasses. And O.J. attacked. Emerged from hiding. Knife in hand. Rage in his eyes. He went after Nicole first. Stabbed her. Multiple times. Viciously. Brutally. Nicole fought. Tried to defend herself. But O.J. was bigger. Stronger. More violent. He kept stabbing. Ron tried to help. Tried to save Nicole. Tried to fight O.J. But Ron had no weapon. No chance. O.J. turned on him. Stabbed him. Ron fought back. Defensive wounds on his hands. Evidence he struggled. Evidence he tried. But O.J. was in a rage. Was unstoppable. Kept stabbing. Kept attacking. Ron was stabbed over 20 times. In his chest. His abdomen. His thigh. He bled out. Died on the walkway. Trying to help someone he barely knew. Nicole was stabbed 7 times. The final wound nearly decapitated her. Cut her throat so deeply she was almost beheaded. This was rage. This was overkill. This was personal. O.J. didn't just kill Nicole. He destroyed her. Mutilated her. Made sure she was gone. Made sure she could never leave him again. Never be with another man. Never have a life without him. If he couldn't have her, no one could. The attack lasted minutes. Maybe 5 minutes. Maybe less. But in that time, O.J. murdered 2 people. Left them dead. Covered in blood. Nicole's children were upstairs. Asleep. Didn't hear. Didn't know. Would wake up the next morning without a mother. Because O.J. had killed her. After the murders, O.J. fled. Left the scene. But he left evidence. Lots of evidence. Blood. His blood. At the crime scene. He'd cut himself during the attack. Left drops of his blood mixed with the victim's blood. On the walkway. On the gate. Everywhere. He also left a bloody glove. At the scene. The left glove. The right one would be found at his house. Both gloves had blood. O.J.'s blood. Nicole's blood. Ron's blood. DNA evidence connecting O.J. to the murders. O.J. got in his car. The white Ford Bronco. Drove home. To his Rockingham estate. Less than 2 miles away. The drive took minutes. He arrived home around 10:50 p.m. Was seen by limousine driver Alan Park. Park was there to take O.J. to the airport. O.J. was flying to Chicago that night. For business. Had a flight at 11:45 p.m. Park saw someone matching O.J.'s description. Wearing dark clothes. Walking quickly into the house. This was O.J. Returning from the murders. O.J. went inside. Cleaned up. Changed clothes. Packed the murder weapon. The knife. It was never found. O.J. hid it. Disposed of it. Made it disappear. He also hid bloody clothes. Evidence. Made them vanish. O.J. thought he'd gotten away with it. Thought his celebrity, his status, his image, would protect him. He was almost right. O.J. left for the airport. Caught his flight to Chicago. Landed around 5 a.m. Checked into his hotel. Acting normal. Like nothing happened. Like he hadn't just murdered 2 people. But back in Los Angeles, the bodies had been discovered. Nicole's neighbors found them around midnight, called police. The investigation began, and it would lead straight to O.J. Police arrived at the crime scene, saw the carnage, the blood, the bodies. Nicole nearly decapitated. Ron stabbed over 20 times. This was brutal, personal, rage-driven. Police immediately thought of O.J., Nicole's ex-husband, known abuser, stalker. They went to O.J.'s house to notify him, to question him. But O.J. was in Chicago, had left hours after the murders. Convenient timing. Police noticed blood at O.J.'s house, on the driveway, on the door, inside. Found the bloody glove, the right glove, matching the one at the crime scene. Found blood in O.J.'s white Bronco. In the interior, on the console. The evidence was overwhelming. Obvious. O.J. had killed Nicole and Ron. The blood proved it. The timeline proved it. Everything proved it. But proving it in court would be different. Would require convincing a jury. Would require overcoming O.J.'s celebrity, his image, his lawyers, and that would be the challenge. If you believe killers should face justice, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The O.J. Simpson case shows how wealth, celebrity, and a broken system can let a murderer walk free. Police called O.J. in Chicago, early morning June 13th. Told him Nicole had been killed. O.J.'s reaction was strange. Didn't ask how she died. Didn't ask who did it. Didn't ask where. Just said he'd catch the next flight home. This struck detectives as odd. Most people would ask questions. Want details. Want to know what happened. But O.J. didn't. Like he already knew. Because he did. He killed her. O.J. flew back to Los Angeles. Arrived around 11 a.m. Was met by police. Taken to headquarters. Questioned. Detective Tom Lang led the interview. Asked O.J. about his relationship with Nicole. About the night before. About his whereabouts. O.J. was evasive. Story kept changing. Said he was home. Then at McDonald's. Then didn't remember. His timeline didn't match the evidence. Didn't match witness statements. Police noticed O.J.'s hand. His left hand. Had a cut. Fresh. Bandaged. O.J. said he cut it in Chicago. On glass. But the cut looked older. Looked like it happened the night before. During the murders. Police believed O.J. cut himself while killing Nicole and Ron. The blood at the scene proved it. O.J.'s blood. Mixed with the victim's. DNA would confirm it. O.J. was questioned for hours. Never asked for a lawyer. Kept talking. Kept trying to explain. But his explanations didn't work. Didn't match evidence. Police knew he did it. But they let him go. Didn't arrest him yet. Wanted to gather more evidence. Build an airtight case. This delay would prove problematic. Over the next few days, evidence mounted. Blood test results came back. DNA analysis. The blood at Nicole's condo was O.J.'s. No question. The blood in his Bronco was Nicole's and Ron's. The glove at his house had all three people's blood. The evidence was overwhelming. Irrefutable. O.J. had killed them. Science proved it. On June 17, 1994, police were ready to arrest O.J. Charged him with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Told his lawyers. O.J. was supposed to surrender by 11 a.m. Police would arrest him, book him, process him. But 11 o'clock came and went. No O.J. He'd disappeared. His lawyer Robert Kardashian read a letter. From O.J. A rambling letter, sounding like a suicide note, talking about Nicole, about his life, about being innocent. The letter made things worse. Made O.J. look guilty. Made him look like he was running. At 2 p.m., O.J.'s lawyer called police. Said O.J. was suicidal. Was in his white Bronco, with his friend Al Cowlings driving. Had a gun. Was going to kill himself. Police needed to find him. Needed to stop him. At 6:20 p.m., a caller spotted the Bronco on the 405 freeway. Heading south, police responded. Started following. And what happened next became one of the most watched events in television history. The low-speed chase. O.J. in the back of the Bronco. Al Cowlings driving. Going 35 miles per hour. Police following. Not forcing a stop. Treating O.J. with kid gloves. Because he was O.J. Simpson. Celebrity. Hero. If this was anyone else, police would have forced them off the road. Would have ended it quickly. But for O.J. they negotiated. Followed. Waited. News helicopters followed. Broadcasting live. Every network. Every channel. Interrupted regular programming. NBA finals were on. Knicks versus Rockets. Network split screen. Game on one side. Chase on the other. 95 million Americans watched. Watched O.J. flee. Watched police follow. Watched the surreal spectacle of a celebrity running from murder charges. The chase lasted hours. O.J. had written signs. Held them up to helicopters. "I love you, Nicole." Messages to his kids. Acting like a victim. Like someone wrongly accused. But he was running. Had $8,000 in cash. Had a passport. Had a disguise. Was fleeing. This is what guilty people do. People lined the freeways. Held signs. "Go, O.J., go." Some supported him. Believed he was innocent. Couldn't reconcile the O.J. they loved with the murderer police described. This was the power of celebrity. Of image. O.J. had cultivated this love for decades. And now it was paying off. People willing to overlook evidence. To believe he couldn't have done it. Because he was O.J. Finally, around 8 p.m., the Bronco pulled into O.J.'s Rockingham estate. O.J.'s house. He went inside. Talked to police on the phone. Negotiated. Drank orange juice. Talked to his mother. Delayed. Finally, after an hour, O.J. surrendered. Came outside. Was arrested. Taken into custody. The chase was over. But the circus was just beginning. O.J. was booked. Mugshot taken. The famous mugshot. O.J. looking disheveled. Tired. Not the charming celebrity, but a murder suspect. He was held without bail initially. Too dangerous. Too likely to flee. He'd already run once. Couldn't be trusted. The evidence against O.J. was overwhelming. Blood at the scene. Blood in his car. Blood at his house. The glove. The timeline. History of abuse. Stalking. Threats. Nicole's diary. The 911 calls. Witnesses. Everything pointed to guilt. To O.J. murdering Nicole and Ron. Any reasonable person looking at the evidence would convict. But O.J. wasn't going to be judged by reasonable people. He was going to be judged by a jury. In Los Angeles. In 1994. After Rodney King. After race riots. In a city divided. And O.J.'s lawyers would exploit that. Would make the trial about race. About police corruption. About anything except the evidence. Except the murders. Except justice for Nicole and Ron. O.J. assembled a dream team of lawyers. The best money could buy. Johnny Cochran. Robert Shapiro. F. Lee Bailey. Robert Kardashian. Alan Dershowitz. Barry Scheck. Peter Neufeld. Heavy hitters. Expensive. Experienced. Willing to do whatever it took to get O.J. acquitted. And they would. Through legal maneuvering. Through attacking police. Through playing the race card. They would get a guilty man freed. Would let a murderer walk. Would deny justice to Nicole and Ron. This was about to become the trial of the century. And justice would lose. If you believe killers should face justice, like share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The O.J. Simpson case shows how wealth, celebrity, and a broken system can let a murderer walk free. The trial of O.J. Simpson began on January 24, 1995. In Los Angeles Superior Court. Judge Lance Ito presiding. The Dream Team defense against prosecutors Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden. The trial would last 9 months. Would become a media circus. A racial battleground. A test of the justice system. And ultimately a failure. The prosecution's case was straightforward. Simple. O.J. Simpson murdered Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The evidence proved it. DNA evidence. Blood at the crime scene matching O.J.'s. Blood in O.J.'s Bronco matching the victims. Blood at OJ's house. The glove. Timeline placing OJ at the scene. History of abuse. Motive. Opportunity. Means. Everything pointed to guilt. The prosecutors believed this was a slam dunk. They were wrong. The defense strategy was different. Brilliant. Cynical. Evil. They wouldn't dispute the evidence directly. Couldn't. It was too strong. Instead, they'd attack the police. Claim evidence was planted. Claim racism. Claim conspiracy. Make the trial about everything except the murders. Except OJ's guilt. Except justice for Nicole and Ron. And it worked. The key moment came when Detective Mark Furman testified. Furman was one of the first detectives at the scene. Found the bloody glove at OJ's house. Key piece of evidence. The defense attacked him. Accused him of planting the glove. Of framing OJ. Of being racist. Asked if he'd ever used the N-word. Furman said no. Under oath. Said he hadn't used that word in 10 years. He was lying. The defense found tapes. Recordings of Furman from years earlier. Screenwriter interviews. Where Furman used the N-word repeatedly. Bragged about police brutality. About planting evidence. About targeting black people. The tapes destroyed Furman's credibility. Made him look like a racist liar. The defense played them in court. The jury heard them. And suddenly, the trial wasn't about OJ. It was about the LAPD. About racism. About whether a racist cop framed an innocent black man. Lead defense attorney Johnny Cochran exploited this brilliantly. Made passionate speeches. About racism. About injustice. About the LAPD's history. About Rodney King. About how black men couldn't get justice in America. How the system was rigged. How OJ was being railroaded. The jury, predominantly black, listened, related, believed. The racial dynamic had completely taken over. The murders were secondary. The evidence was secondary. Race was everything. The prosecution tried to refocus. Presented the DNA evidence. Blood evidence. Experts testified. Explained the science. The matches. The probability. OJ's blood at the crime scene was a 1 in 170 million match. Essentially certain. Nicole's and Ron's blood in OJ's Bronco. In his house. On the glove. The science was irrefutable. But the jury didn't understand it. Or didn't care. They'd already decided. This was about more than murder. This was about payback. About the LAPD. About racism. OJ would walk. Regardless of evidence. The most famous moment came on June 15, 1995. The glove demonstration. Prosecutor Chris Darden made a fatal mistake. Asked OJ to try on the gloves. The bloody gloves from the crime scene. In front of the jury. OJ stood up. Put on the gloves. Struggled. Made faces. Said they're too tight. The gloves didn't fit. Or appeared not to. OJ was performing. Wearing latex gloves underneath. Making it look like the gloves didn't fit. And the jury bought it. Johnny Cochran used this. In his closing argument. The famous line, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." Rhymed. Catchy. Memorable. Simple. The jury remembered it. Repeated it. Believed it. Never mind that leather gloves shrink when soaked in blood. Never mind that OJ was wearing latex gloves underneath. Never mind the DNA. Never mind the evidence. The gloves didn't fit. So acquit. And they did. The prosecution was losing. Could feel it. The jury wasn't listening to evidence. Wasn't focused on facts. Was focused on race. On the LAPD. On Furman. On everything except whether OJ murdered Nicole and Ron. Marcia Clark tried desperately to refocus. Showed photos of Nicole's battered face. From 1989. Reminded the jury of OJ's abuse. His violence. His stalking. His threats. Played the 911 tapes. Nicole's terrified voice. "He's going to beat the shit out of me." The jury heard it. Saw it. And didn't care. Because this trial wasn't about Nicole anymore. Wasn't about Ron. It was about race. About the system. About payback. The defense called few witnesses. Didn't need to. They'd successfully made the trial about police misconduct, about racism, about everything except O.J.'s guilt. Their strategy worked. The prosecution had overwhelming evidence, scientific proof, timeline, motive, history, everything. But it didn't matter. The jury had decided. O.J. would be acquitted, would walk free, would get away with murder. Closing arguments came in late September 1995. The prosecution summarized the evidence. The blood, the DNA, the timeline, the abuse, the motive, everything pointing to O.J., begged the jury to follow the evidence, to deliver justice, to convict a murderer. The defense countered. Johnny Cochran gave an impassioned speech about racism, about corrupt police, about reasonable doubt, about the gloves. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. The jury deliberated. October 2nd, 1995. The jury began deliberations. After 9 months of trial, after 133 days of testimony, after 488 exhibits, after hearing from 126 witnesses, the jury retired to decide O.J. Simpson's fate. Would they convict? Would they acquit? The nation waited, held its breath, debated, argued, predicted. The racial divide was clear. Polls showed most black Americans believed O.J. was innocent. Most white Americans believed he was guilty. The verdict would reveal everything. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. In a case this complex, this lengthy, this important, 4 hours was nothing. Most legal experts expected days, maybe weeks, but 4 hours? That meant the jury had decided quickly, had maybe decided before deliberations even started. This was either very good or very bad for O.J. Turned out to be very good. October 3rd, 1995, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. The verdict was announced. The courtroom packed. Media everywhere. O.J.'s family present. The Goldman and Brown families present. Everyone nervous, tense, waiting. Judge Ito asked the jury foreman for the verdict. The verdicts were handed over, read silently, then given to the clerk, to be read aloud. The moment had arrived. We, the jury, in the above entitled action find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder. Not guilty, the first count, Nicole Brown Simpson's murder. Not guilty. The courtroom erupted. O.J. smiled. His lawyers celebrated. The Goldman family looked devastated. Ron Goldman's father, Fred, shook his head. Couldn't believe it. The clerk continued. We, the jury, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder. Ron Goldman's murder. Not guilty. Both counts. Complete acquittal. O.J. was free. 140 million Americans watched the verdict live. Workplaces stopped. Schools stopped. The nation watched. And the nation split. In black communities, celebrations. Cheering. Joy. People saw O.J.'s acquittal as justice. As payback for Rodney King. For years of injustice. For centuries of racism. O.J. walking free felt like victory. Like the system finally working for black people. Like beating the racist LAPD. The celebration wasn't about O.J. being innocent. It was about beating the system. In white communities, shock, horror, disbelief. People saw a murderer walk free. Saw wealth and celebrity buy an acquittal. Saw the justice system fail. Saw Nicole and Ron denied justice. The reaction was anger, frustration, sadness. How could this happen? How could overwhelming evidence not matter? How could a jury ignore DNA? Ignore blood? Ignore everything? The answer was race. The answer was the LAPD's history. The answer was Johnny Cochran making it about everything except the murders. The Goldman family was devastated. Fred Goldman, Ron's father, spoke afterward. Said the jury had made a terrible mistake. That justice had not been served. That his son's killer was free. That O.J. would never pay for what he did. Fred was right. The criminal justice system had failed. But he wouldn't give up. The Goldman family would sue O.J. civilly, would fight for some measure of justice, some accountability, some consequence. Nicole's family was equally heartbroken. Denise Brown, Nicole's sister, had testified at trial about the abuse, about O.J.'s violence, about Nicole's fear. She'd hoped the jury would see the truth, would convict, would give Nicole justice, but they didn't. O.J. was free, could walk away, could live his life, while Nicole was dead, while Ron was dead, while two families grieved. The civil trial would be their only hope. O.J. left court a free man, went home, to Rockingham, was greeted by supporters, by family, celebrated. He'd beaten the system, had gotten away with murder, had used his money, his celebrity, his lawyers to escape justice, and he showed no remorse, no guilt, no acknowledgement of what he'd done, just satisfaction, just victory, just narcissism. In the following months, O.J. tried to resume normal life, tried to play golf, make appearances, be a celebrity again, but America wasn't ready. Many people refused to associate with him. Sponsors dropped him. Hertz ended their relationship. Networks didn't hire him. O.J. was toxic, a known murderer who'd escaped conviction. People knew what he did, even if a jury acquitted him. Even if legally innocent, everyone knew the truth. O.J. had killed Nicole and Ron, and gotten away with it. In 1997, the civil trial began. The Goldman and Brown families sued O.J. for wrongful death. Civil trials have different standards. Don't require proof beyond reasonable doubt. Just preponderance of evidence. More likely than not. And the evidence against O.J. was overwhelming. The civil jury heard it all. The blood, the DNA, the timeline, the abuse, everything. And unlike the criminal jury, they focused on evidence. Not on race, not on the LAPD, on facts. On February 4, 1997, the civil jury reached a verdict. Found O.J. Simpson liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Awarded $8.5 million in compensatory damages. Then $25 million in punitive damages. Total, $33.5 million. O.J. was ordered to pay, to compensate the families, to face some consequence, some accountability. This was justice. Imperfect, incomplete, but something. O.J. never paid. Moved to Florida, where homestead laws protected his primary residence. Hid assets, avoided garnishments. The Goldman family spent years trying to collect. Got some money, book rights, memorabilia, but nowhere near $33.5 million. O.J. protected his wealth, lived comfortably, played golf daily, showed no remorse, no guilt, no humanity. He'd been found liable for 2 murders, and didn't care, didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge, just lived his life, free, unpunished, evil. After the civil trial, O.J. Simpson lived in Florida, in a golf community, played golf every day, lived off his NFL pension which couldn't be garnished, lived comfortably, showed no remorse, no acknowledgement of what he'd done. He'd been found liable for 2 murders, owed $33.5 million, but lived like nothing happened, like Nicole and Ron didn't matter, like their family's pain didn't matter. This was O.J. Narcissistic, evil, unrepentant. In 2006, O.J. did something shocking. Announced a book, titled If I Did It, a hypothetical confession, where O.J. would describe how he would have killed Nicole and Ron, if he'd done it, which he had. The book was grotesque, exploitative, evil. O.J. describing the murders in detail, the knife, the attack, the blood, then claiming it was hypothetical, fiction, a thought exercise. It was disgusting. Public outrage was immediate. How dare O.J. profit from the murders? How dare he write about killing Nicole and Ron? The Goldman family sued, won rights to the book, published it themselves, but changed the cover, made If tiny, made I Did It huge, turned O.J.'s hypothetical confession into an actual confession. The book became evidence, proof. O.J. describing the murders because he committed them. Everyone knew it. Then, in September 2007, O.J.'s luck ran out. In Las Vegas, O.J. and accomplices broke into a hotel room, at gunpoint, to steal sports memorabilia. O.J. claimed the items were his, stolen from him, but the law disagreed. Armed robbery, kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon. O.J. was arrested, charged. This time there'd be no acquittal. The trial was in 2008. The evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses, recordings, O.J.'s own words. The jury convicted him on all counts. On October 3, 2008, exactly 13 years after his murder acquittal, O.J. was sentenced to 33 years in prison, 9 years minimum before parole eligibility. Many saw this as karma, as justice delayed, as payback for getting away with murder. O.J. was finally going to prison, not for killing Nicole and Ron, but for robbery. It was something. O.J. served his sentence at Lovelock Correctional Center in Nevada. Medium security. He was inmate number 1027820. Just a prisoner. Not a celebrity. Not a hero. Just a convicted felon. O.J. behaved in prison. Followed rules. Stayed out of trouble. Wanted parole. Wanted freedom. In July 2017, he appeared before the parole board. After serving 9 years, O.J. claimed he'd been a model prisoner, had taken classes, mentored other inmates, was no longer a threat. The parole board agreed, granted parole. On October 1, 2017, O.J. was released. After 9 years, he moved to Las Vegas, to a gated community, lived quietly, played golf, posted on social media, Twitter videos, acting like a normal retiree, like he hadn't murdered 2 people, like he hadn't robbed anyone, just living, free, comfortable, unrepentant. From 2017 to 2024, O.J. lived in Las Vegas, played golf almost daily, posted on social media regularly, commented on football, on politics, on life, acting like a celebrity, like someone people should care about. Some people did, followed him, supported him, believed he was innocent, but most people knew the truth. O.J. was a murderer, was a criminal, was someone who'd escaped justice, then committed more crimes, then escaped again after minimal punishment. In 2023, O.J. was diagnosed with prostate cancer. The disease progressed, spread. Treatment wasn't working. By early 2024, O.J. was dying. His family kept it quiet, private. On April 10, 2024, O.J. died. At home, surrounded by children. He was 76 years old. Had lived 30 years after murdering Nicole and Ron. 30 years they never got. 30 years of freedom he didn't deserve. When O.J. died, the Goldman family responded. Said it was no great loss to the world. Said justice was never served. Said Ron and Nicole deserved better. They were right. O.J. had gotten away with murder. Had lived free. Had died free. Never faced real consequences. Never apologized. Never showed remorse. Just lived. Enjoyed life. While Nicole and Ron rotted in graves. While their families grieved. While justice remained denied. Nicole Brown Simpson would be 65 today if O.J. hadn't killed her. Would have seen Sydney and Justin grow up. Graduate. Start careers. Maybe have families. She'd be a grandmother. Would have had 3 decades of life. Of joy. Of experiences. All stolen. By O.J. Because he couldn't accept that she'd left him. Because his ego mattered more than her life. Because he was a narcissistic, violent monster. Ron Goldman would be 55 today. Would have pursued acting. Modeling. Would have had a family. Career. Future. But he died at 25. Killed trying to help someone. Killed for being kind. For being in the wrong place. His life stolen. By O.J. For nothing. Ron wasn't even the target. Was collateral damage. Was murdered because he had the misfortune of arriving while O.J. was killing Nicole. The O.J. Simpson case revealed everything wrong with the justice system. How wealth can buy the best lawyers. How celebrity can influence juries. How race can be weaponized. How justice can be denied. O.J. murdered 2 people. The evidence proved it. DNA, blood, timeline, motive, history, everything. But he was acquitted because his lawyers made the trial about race, about the LAPD, about everything except the murders. And a jury bought it. Let a murderer walk. Denied justice to Nicole and Ron. O.J. Simpson died free, died comfortable, died without accountability, without punishment, without justice. This is the tragedy. Not that O.J. died, but that he lived, that he got 30 years he didn't deserve, that Nicole and Ron got nothing, that the system failed them, that wealth and celebrity matter more than justice, that a charming smile can hide a monster, that America loved O.J. so much they couldn't see what he really was, until it was too late, until 2 people were dead. And even then, many refused to see. Rest in peace, Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. You deserved justice, deserved life, deserved better than what you got. Your killer walked free, lived well, died comfortable, but you're not forgotten. Your stories are told. Your deaths mean something. Your families never stopped fighting, never stopped demanding justice. And the world knows the truth. O.J. Simpson was a murderer who got away with it. That's his legacy. Not the football, not the fame. Murder. That's all he'll be remembered for. A killer who escaped justice. O.J. Simpson died free, but history will remember him as a murderer. Like, share, subscribe, and turn on notification bell to honor Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you in my next case.